Welcome back to the channel, your go-to source for the latest in Canadian political drama and economic updates. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Today's story is massive, a battle that's brewing between Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith. The battleground: oil, tariffs, and national unity. In a bold and controversial move, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government is now pushing for increased tariffs on Alberta's oil exports, a policy that has sent shockwaves through the energy sector and reignited long-simmering tensions between Ottawa and Alberta. And Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, well, she's not pulling any punches. In fact, her response is nothing short of explosive. Buckle up, because today we're diving deep into the latest developments, what this means for Canada's economy, why Trudeau is making this move, and how Danielle Smith is leading a full-blown political counterattack. On Tuesday morning, a press release from the Prime Minister's office dropped like a political bombshell. The federal government announced its intention to explore targeted economic measures aimed at regulating and possibly restricting the export of crude oil from Alberta. The rationale: according to Trudeau, it's part of a broader environmental agenda to meet climate goals and protect Canada's long-term interests. The language was careful. Phrases like market-based incentives, adjusted fiscal frameworks, and eco-tariff structures were used. But make no mistake, this is about tariffs. Real, enforceable, and potentially devastating tariffs on Alberta's lifeline, its oil and gas sector. Trudeau stated, "Canada must lead the world in sustainable development, and that means we can no longer subsidize unchecked emissions from any province." This is not about punishing Alberta. It's about protecting our future. But to many, especially in Alberta, it absolutely feels like a punishment. So why now? Why would Trudeau take such a provocative stance, especially with national unity already hanging by a thread? Analysts say it's a strategic gamble. With the next federal election looming, Trudeau's Liberals are trying to shore up support in key urban ridings, particularly in Quebec, Ontario, and British Columbia, where climate issues resonate strongly with voters. By framing Alberta's oil as an environmental villain, Trudeau positions himself as a green warrior willing to take hard stances. Some insiders suggest this move also serves as a distraction from sagging approval ratings, ethics scandals, and growing frustrations over inflation and housing. It's a classic political tactic. When in trouble, create a new battlefield. But this one, it's a dangerous choice. Because Alberta isn't staying quiet. Just hours after the announcement, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith held an emergency press conference in Edmonton. She was fiery, confident, and unapologetically combative. "This is an attack, not just on Alberta's economy, but on our way of life," she declared, standing flanked by provincial ministers and Indigenous leaders. "Let me be perfectly clear. Alberta will not sit back while this federal government tries to strangle our most vital industry. We will fight this with every tool we have." Smith went on to call Trudeau's plan unconstitutional, citing provincial jurisdiction over natural resources. She vowed to challenge the move in court, and even hinted at invoking the Alberta Sovereignty within a United Canada Act, a controversial piece of legislation designed to push back against federal overreach. If you thought Western alienation was simmering before, it's now boiling over. The oil and gas sector, unsurprisingly, is up in arms. Executives from major companies like Suncor, Cenovus, and Canadian Natural Resources issued joint statements calling the proposed tariffs economically catastrophic. One executive, who asked to remain anonymous, said, "This is worse than a carbon tax. This is economic warfare on Alberta. We're talking about job losses, investment flight, and serious supply chain disruptions." Industry groups warn that these tariffs could lead to billions in lost revenue, layoffs across the energy sector, and a chilling effect on future development projects. For many companies that already feel overregulated and under siege, this could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. And it's not just Alberta. Saskatchewan, which also relies heavily on energy exports, has expressed solidarity with Alberta. Premier Scott Moe tweeted, "When Alberta's economy is attacked, all Western Canadians suffer." we stand with Premier Smith. This isn't just about oil. This is about national unity, something Canada has struggled with for decades. From the Quebec independence referendums to the rise of Western separatism, regional tensions are woven into our country's fabric. And now, those tensions are flaring up again. Many Albertans feel like Confederation has become a one-way street. They send billions to Ottawa in equalization payments, but when they ask for infrastructure, pipelines, or economic flexibility, they're met with resistance. This latest tariff proposal only deepens the feeling of alienation. Danielle Smith tapped into that sentiment, warning, if Ottawa continues down this path, we may be forced to reconsider our role within this confederation. Albertans are proud Canadians, but we will not be economic hostages. That's strong language. And it's not just rhetoric. Support for independence movements is quietly ticking up, and political pundits say Trudeau may have just poured gasoline on that fire. So what happens next? Well, brace yourselves for a legal showdown. Alberta is already assembling a team of constitutional experts to challenge the federal plan. The key argument is that natural resources fall under provincial jurisdiction, as outlined in Section 92A of the Constitution Act, 1982. But the federal government isn't without power. They could argue that national climate goals and international treaties, like the Paris Agreement, give them the authority to act in the national interest. It's a murky legal battleground, and the outcome is far from certain. If this ends up in the Supreme Court, it could set a historic precedent for the limits of federal power versus provincial rights. Now, let's talk dollars and cents. This isn't just a provincial squabble. This affects all Canadians. Oil is still one of Canada's top exports. It props up the dollar, funds pensions, and supports thousands of jobs directly and indirectly. If tariffs disrupt that, we could see a ripple effect across the economy: higher fuel prices, reduced investor confidence, and slower growth. Economists are already warning that this policy could lead to inflationary pressure, especially in the prairies and Atlantic Canada, where imported fuel is often more expensive. It could also complicate our trade relationships with the U.S., our largest energy customer. So while Ottawa might be aiming for climate justice, the economic fallout could be steep. Public opinion is sharply divided. In major cities like Toronto and Vancouver, many voters support tougher environmental policies, even if they come with economic costs. But in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and parts of rural Ontario, the backlash is fierce. Polls conducted within 48 hours of the announcement show that over 68% of Albertans oppose the tariff plan, while only 22% support it. Nationally, opinion is more split. 45% support Trudeau's environmental push, while 43% side with Alberta's defense of its economy. It's becoming a culture war, one that pits urban versus rural, east versus west, economy versus environment. And in the middle of it all, a growing sense that the federal system is straining under the weight of competing visions for Canada's future. All eyes are now on the next moves. Trudeau is expected to introduce the legislation in Parliament within weeks. Whether it passes may come down to how much support he can rally from the NDP and Bloc Québécois, both of whom have been non-committal so far. Danielle Smith, meanwhile, is ramping up her campaign against the plan. She's launching a cross-province tour, meeting with business leaders, Indigenous groups, and grassroots organizations. Expect her to dominate headlines in the coming weeks. And behind the scenes, political operatives from both sides are already gaming out the impact on the next federal election. Will Trudeau's boldness be rewarded in urban Canada? Or will the backlash in the West cost him dearly? At the heart of this story is a question as old as Canada itself. Can this country hold together under the strain of its deep regional differences? Trudeau says he's fighting for the planet. Smith says she's fighting for her people. Maybe both are sincere. But when national unity hangs in the balance, intentions matter less than outcomes. And right now, the outcome looks like conflict. We'll be following this story closely, so make sure to hit that like button if you found this breakdown helpful. Subscribe for more in-depth coverage. And let us know in the comments. Who do you think is in the right here, Trudeau or Smith? Is this about climate or control? And what do you think it means for Canada's future? Thanks for watching. and we'll see you in the next one.